When I was asking Badawi questions, Ken sat silently next to me as he didn't speak Arabic. But whenever he thought of something I should ask Badawi, he would write a note on a sticky pad and pass it to me. Badawi did not know what the notes were for, and I saw him repeatedly glancing at them. He seemed unnerved by them. I guessed it confused him why Ken never opened his mouth and just pressed notes. I see you looking at these notes, I said. You're wondering what's written on this paper. I held up one of the notes with the blank side facing him. No, no, Badawi replied, his face turning red like a schoolboy caught cheating. No, I wasn't. He paused and then continued. It's your business. I don't care. He tried to look disheartened, but his eyes kept darting back to the notes. Well, I continued, I'll tell you anyway. My friend here is like a human polygraph machine. He's an expert in human behavior. And every time you lie, he passes me a note telling me that you're lying. Ken had no idea what I was saying and just stared at Badawi, unsmiling as before. This only seemed to unnerve Badawi even more. From then on, whenever Badawi was going to lie, he would either move away from the window and attempt to maneuver himself into an angle that would prevent Ken from seeing him, or he would look to see whether Ken was reacting. Instantly, we knew he was lying. Badawi himself became a human polygraph machine. What passport did you use to travel to Afghanistan? I asked Badawi. My passport, he replied. In your name? Yes, in my name. Which name? Jamal. Jamal what? Puzzled, he asked. What do you mean? Is it Jamal al-Badawi, or is it one of the other names you use? Is it the name you used to travel to Bosnia? Here I was guessing, but almost everyone we questioned had a second fraudulent Yemeni passport. Badawi hesitated. I looked at Ken and Badawi fidgeted. Look, I got a copy in our other office of the passport in the other name you used. Do you want me to get it? I asked. No, no, it's Jamal al-Tali. I had been bluffing, knowing that al-Qaeda terrorists like Badawi like to think they're outwitting you. They don't want to get caught lying. It's both a game to them. One, they want to win, and a question of honor, as they don't like being called liars. As self-proclaimed religious Muslims, it's embarrassing for them to be caught lying. PSO interrogator present told me during a break that he was shocked that Badawi had admitted to using the name. Now we had an admission of one of his aliases, and we put out a search to see whether the passport had been used. We found that a pager had been bought under the name, and we questioned Badawi about it. He admitted that it was for the attack. It would be paged when the attack was about to be underway so that he could record it, using a videotape provided by Abu Rahim Nashiri for the purpose. Bit by bit, we teased out the details about the operation from Badawi. Throughout, he tried minimizing his own role. He consistently told us that it was al-Nashiri who had both provided the videotape and instructed him to buy the pager. He had passed both duties on to Fahad al-Quso, who became his deputy for the operation. He had trained al-Quso in how to use the video and the pager. Quso had not recorded the attack, however, Badawi claimed, because he had overslept. Al-Qaeda members commonly had the same problems with timelines that Yemenis did. Part of the reason is cultural. In the West, we are trained to think in a linear manner, and we learned that the truth can be arrived at by following a series of logical steps. Al-Qaeda members, however, are greatly influenced by conspiracy theories, and they suspend their critical thinking. Rather than logic, they have a culture based on relationships and impressions, and there is considerable willingness on their part to accept conspiracy theories to explain certain events. Bin Laden capitalized on this by reiterating long-standing assertions that America, Israel, and the West were trying to subjugate the Arab and Muslim world and destroy the Islamic faith. Concomitant with pledging bayat to their leader, and in preparation for the possibility of capture by Western intelligence, Al-Qaeda operatives are trained to come up with a false narrative that follows linear thinking. But they find it hard to stick to lies when questioned in minute detail. A key part of successful interrogations is to ask detailed questions relating to time and whereabouts. Such questions are easy for a detainee to answer if he is telling the truth, but if he is lying, it's hard for him to keep the story straight. Often, Badawi would not lie completely, but give a partial lie. By zeroing in on the details, we could see where he was lying. I would point it out. He would correct himself, and slowly we get the fuller picture. Going through events in great detail eventually trips us most liars. At times it felt, as John put it more than once, like pulling teeth. We would ask a series of questions and trap Badawi in a lie. When he was caught, or felt that he was about to be caught, he would change his story slightly, inserting more of the truth. He also got angry sometimes when we caught him in a lie, and then he would spill more information. Process required patience. Interrogators can't show frustration. That would only encourage the detainee to hold out, thinking the interrogator would soon give up. Instead, you have to show you're not in a rush and are prepared to spend as long as it takes. Persistence is of paramount importance. A mistake some people make is giving up an interrogation a fixed time slot. Doing so only alerts the suspect to the fact that all he needs is to outlast you. One day of interest was January 3rd, when the five young fishermen had reported finding the boat on the beach. It seemed to us that Al Qaeda had been planning a second attack, but that something had gone wrong. We checked with the United States Navy to determine what ships had been in the area at the time and found that on the night of January 3rd, the USS Sullivan's, a guided missiles destroyer, had been scheduled to be there. It was named after five brothers who had died with their ship, the USS Juno. It was sunk on November 4, 1942, by the Japanese. This was the greatest military loss that any one family had suffered during World War II in any single action. We guessed that Badawi must have known about a planned attack because he had been helping al-Nashiri. Eventually, he admitted that the two separate plots, based on the January 3rd, 2000 timing, we concluded that the initial plan was to attack the USS Sullivan's. That plan had failed. The plotters had turned their full attention to the USS Cole. Badawi eventually pieced together for us his story with Al Qaeda, his friendship with Khalid, and his role in the Cole bombing. He also named operatives and training camps and provided a lot of other detailed information on Al Qaeda. His confession was enough to warrant a full conviction for his role as a co conspirator in the death of 17 U.S. sailors.